We're ready. One, and two.
So, happy Thursday, everybody. I guess we'll start. Shall we start? I'm going to pass around a sheet of paper, and I'm hoping you'll put your name on there and your department. Don't worry, I won't call on you. So, welcome to the launch of the College of Science Doctoral Training Center Seminar. Say that 10 times fast. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Robert Laramie, and I'm in the Computer Science Department. So this is a special day because this is a new initiative from the College of Science at Swansea University to provide these training seminars to all the PhD students in the College of Science. So it's an exciting new initiative, and I can see from the audience, all of your faces, that you're very excited about this as well. I can see it. I can pick up the vibes as well. So what are we hoping to achieve? So we want to foster adventurous, ambitious researchers who would like to work with impact and purpose. We would like to support you as a community of students. So this is something that Swansea University is trying to achieve at a university level, to support the PhD students and the postgraduate students more as a community than they have in the past. And this is not only for the College of Science, but across the whole university. And to provide a high-quality training framework to help you get started with your PhD studies. So I hope that's what you guys think of this as you attend the lectures, that these are useful, they're good quality, and they're helpful. And we generally want to improve the research environment for all the PhD students, not only in the College of Science, but across the university, but we are focusing on the College of Science. This seminar is actually open to all PhD students at the university, so if you have friends that are interested in attending, you can tell them. But it is especially meant for students studying in the College of Science, so that's computer science, mathematics, physics, geography, and bioscience. Is anybody here from outside those places, those departments? Okay, if you have friends from other departments, they are welcome to join if they think it's useful. Some of the seminars will be useful for students outside, and some of them won't be. Today's seminar is useful for everybody. It's useful for the entire world, not just students and not somebody that's just in science. So it's applicable to the entire world, which is kind of exciting, isn't it? So what are some more reasons we're doing this? So you probably know already that writing a PhD is difficult. And when you come in as a new PhD student, you might have a bachelor's degree, you might have a master's degree, you might have both. But there are new skills that you learn as a PhD student that you didn't have when you studied your previous degrees. So your previous degrees are good, very good preparation for industry, for example. But they might not be fully preparing you with all the skills that you want to write a PhD. So that's part of the mission of this doctoral training seminar series, is to give you some more skills to help you finish your PhD, starting today, by the way. So you're going to if you don't already know what I'm going to talk about today, you'll have a new skill starting today that's going to dramatically improve your life if you don't already have this skill. Here are the lecture notes, by the way. By the way, if there are any comments or questions during the presentation, feel free to interrupt at any time. You don't have to wait until the end or anything like that. So for some of you, this might be your first time carrying out a project. It may be the first time and the only time in your life that you carry out a project that lasts so long, like 3 years, 4 years. So it's a long-term project. It's a continuous project, right? Probably the longest project you've worked on so far is a year, probably, for most of you. Has anybody worked on a project for more than a year before? What was the longest project you worked on? What's your name, by the way?
My name is Mark Proctor. I'm in geography. I'm doing a PhD in human geography. And I've run projects. So I had a 5-year project.
Okay.
So
Good.
maybe it's good or not, actually.
Maybe we can integrate some of your expertise. That's 5 years is long. I guess the longest project I've been involved in is a PhD, so 20 years. No, 4, something like that. Anybody else been involved? I guess for the rest of you, it's 1 year-ish, right? So some of the things we're going to talk about are, for example, you probably already know that you're confronted with a vast amount of previously published scientific literature, right? An endless amount of previously published scientific literature. How do you navigate that crazy jungle, let's say, of previous literature? Where do you start when you're trying to write a paper? You have to write a paper at some point. And where do you start? Right? That's a great question. Does anybody know the answer to that question already? Good. We're going to talk about it. What was your answer?
Well, I could hazard a guess, and I would say that you start by establishing where actually you're situated in the greater context of writing that has been done before, and perchance also why it's important and to whom.
Yes, that's a very logical thought process. What's your name, by the way?
Claire.
Claire. Which department?
Also human geography.
Okay, good. Has anybody published a paper already, by the way, a scientific research paper? Okay, good. Maybe somebody. No, you guys haven't done it yet. Soon. Okay, and what are some good ways to carry out visual data analysis? Some people in the audience know the answers to that question already. So we're going to try to address some of these challenges, these themes, and develop some of these skills. Right? We're going to talk about conducting effective meetings, which is the cornerstone of your PhD, actually. Your PhD hinges on the effectiveness of the meetings you have with your supervisor, with your colleagues. Maybe some of you have multiple supervisors or are working with a third party. So how well that communication exchange works is going to be very, very important. Reading research papers. How to identify the important information from that vast jungle of research papers and extract the essential parts out of it. Right? Not all the information in the world is equal. Right? Some of it's more important than others. So we're going to talk about how to decide, okay, what's more important? What do I need to extract? What is less important? And what can I leave either forever or for later? We're going to talk about reading research papers in the context of writing a literature survey. So you all want to write a literature survey, presumably as part of your PhD. And the reason you do that is to try to identify solved and unsolved problems in your study, right? The whole goal is to address unsolved problems, right? That's what we want to do. We want to contribute to science by working on unsolved problems. Well, how do you find the unsolved problems? The literature survey is part of that tool that you use to identify unsolved problems, right? So you don't work on a solved problem necessarily. So those are some themes. We're gonna talk about conducting literature reviews, writing research papers, the common elements of good research papers. We're gonna talk about the structure of a research paper and some content that goes into each section and subsection of a research paper, and we're going to talk about data analysis and visualization. So we're hoping the material here is going to be useful and give you a helpful starting point for the rest of your degree. Does that sound exciting? Is everybody very excited? Does it sound very interesting?
Hell yeah.
I'm interested. I already know this, but I think it sounds interesting just talking about it. Is that sheet with the names and the departments?
Should be at your desk.
Oh, did somebody give it to me already? Oh, okay. So you may have noticed there is an exciting web page set up already for the doctoral training seminar. So if you Google my name and you click on College of Science DTC series, seminar series, the URL might change, but for now that's what it is. We're working on a College of Science official page, so to speak. And there's a preview of what's to come, right? That's today. How to read a scientific research paper, extracting the essentials, how to conduct a survey, how to write a paper, visual data analysis, and then social media. Not Twitter. I'm not going to talk about Twitter. I'll talk about YouTube. YouTube is way better than Twitter. Way better. Don't you think? And if you have any special requests, like, Bob, can you discuss this? Let me know. I will solve everything. Yeah. But that's the idea that we came up with in terms of a coherent structure of seminars. They're not independent, they fit together. So this one fits together with the next one. And these three are really one sort of cohesive unit that fit together one after the other. They're not just a bunch of random topics strung together in a seminar series. And this is not the only training going on to university, so we're collecting information. This is, as far as I know, the only collection of information about training related to postgraduate studies at Swansea University on this webpage. So there's a general training course for all Swansea University postgraduate students. So those are some of the things going on there. I actually do teach there as well. We have a visible lunch / CODA seminar. You can click on that if you're interested. There's the Bioscience postgraduate seminar series. Bioscience is very invested in training students and giving them skills for their PhD studies, so they've developed a lot of specialized bioscience material. There's a College of Science lunchtime seminar series. And there's something called the PhD in Visualization Starter Kit, which I'll mention in a slide or two. So we are consulting with the other departments in the College of Science. I'm in computer science, but I'm talking to the mathematics department, physics, bioscience, and geography, trying to get their feedback into material and making sure that this training material fits in with the scheme, the university as a whole, and the departments as a whole. So it's right in the middle. You can imagine like very specialized training, the bottom level, at the departmental level. Then you can imagine very general training at the university level for everybody. And we're here in the middle. So we're at the scientific training level, so to speak. And you can get, there are other training opportunities outside Swansea University. You might not have known that, but there are. And we have sent our students there to some of these training opportunities. The Hartree Summer School. There's a Wales Institute of Social and Economic Research. There's the European Industrial Doctoral School. We sent a student there. There's a KES, Postgraduate Skills Development Award, and so on. So there's lots of opportunities for training outside the university, and you can also Google for training materials at other universities. This is just one of them. So there's this is a repository of training materials from Oxford University, but there are others. Also, we're talking to the postgraduate students themselves, the representatives themselves, and this is for them, like on their behalf. The head of the Postgraduate Research Student Society has said, please advertise these groups so all of you can join these social media groups and exchange questions with all the other students at Swansea University. And then some funding opportunities. For example, if you want to find some extra money to travel to a conference, you can check here, for example. So in this, if you have any useful information that you find and you think it would be useful to share, I'm happy to include it in there, right? So that's work in progress. So that's the web page. Now, I worked for a long time on something called the PhD in Visualization Starter Kit, which is for computer scientists. So that is a series of refereed conference and journal papers that have been published on these topics. So they've been peer-reviewed by other experts, other computer scientists across the world, and given their stamp of approval. So some of that will form the basis for the College of Science doctoral training seminar series. We're going to broaden it up. We're going to broaden up the scope to include science rather than just computer science, for example. And the PVSK has been presented, by the way, at some conferences. So I presented it at a conference in the US in 2010. And the turnout was really surprising. There were something like 300 students in the audience from all around the world, very eager to find this material. So you won't see this material anywhere else. This is special material just at Swansea University. You won't find this exact material with this level of quality anywhere else. And just for fun, these are some of my inspirations. These are all PhD students or PhD candidates that I worked with over the years. They're still like hiding in different places, some of them. Like Matt Edmonds, the last time I checked, is in engineering. Has anybody met any of these amazing people? Guaning Chen's in the US. Zhao Gong is up north. somewhere. Ed Grundy is still around somewhere, and maybe in biosciences. Dan Leibscher moved to the U.S. Tony McLaughlin's somewhere in the U.K. Pong is in the College of Medicine, still hanging around. And Ben Spencer, I think, is in the U.S. and works for Disney or something like that. And of course, we have some amazing people still studying. And are shocked to see that their photo is here on the screen right now. Did I surprise you guys? You're shocked to see that? That's good. James Walker is just about to graduate. He has a Viva. Maybe he already had his Viva. So this is going to be the PhD in Science Starter Kit, or the PSSK, which is kind of hard to say. And now we're going to talk about part one, right? Part one of the PSSK. And the implication behind that is this is a cohesive set of lectures. It's not just, here's a topic. Okay, here's another topic. Okay, here's another topic. That a disjoint. They are a cohesive set of pieces that fit together as a kit, a toolkit. Any questions so far? Sounds exciting? Before we begin, just some caveats. So the PSSK is no substitute for experience or an advisor. This is meant to complement what you're doing already with your advisor. You cannot use this as a substitute. You can think of it as a place to start, right? It's not a place to finish, right? It's a place to start. Some of the things I say also are going to be a little bit non-scientific and a little bit subjective. So it's possible to disagree with me and have a different point of view and so on. That's just healthy science, right? So the PSSK is meant to be a useful starting point, right? And that's really nice because there is no other starting point currently. This is the starting point. There's a gap like, wow, where do I start? There is no starting point. Until now. Now there is an actual starting point, which is nice. The guidelines that we're going to present are views, and you customize them. So you can imagine a starting point. But then, given that starting point, you customize it to fit your individual style and your individual needs and your individual subjects, right? Because writing a paper in geography is not the same as writing a paper in computer science, for example, right? But they do have some things in common. And like I mentioned, there is no other training quite like this that exists anywhere else. Right? I can tell you though that the demand for this material is very high. If we open this up to the whole world, then we'd have millions of people here, right? We can't accommodate millions of people. So let's jump into the first part. I can't say that it's the world's most exciting topic, meetings, but actually it's ridiculously important. So I can sort of tell if someone's on the path to success or unsuccess based on the quality of their meetings. So this is a very important cornerstone of your PhD, and it like everything depends on this, right? It's not exciting, but it's ridiculously important, and it's simple, but it's not that easy either. In some cases it is very easy, but in some cases it's not. So ineffective meetings. This is the default right? This is what we experience by default, I would say, ineffective meetings. And has anybody here had a job in industry before? Okay, so this is going to be even more interesting for people that have industry experience, because at least in my experience, industry meetings are even less effective, the least effective. At least I can't. Maybe I take that back. Maybe I've been in very, very ineffective academic meetings too. How many people have been in meetings at all? Everybody's been in meetings, right? Some of you haven't been in meetings yet, it sounds like. Have you ever left a meeting and not know what to do? Yep. You don't really, and you've walked out of the room and thought, I don't know what to take away from that. It doesn't even matter how long the meeting is. In fact, the longer it is, the more likely you don't know what the takeaway is. Has anybody ever arrived at a meeting unprepared? Or not knowing how you should prepare for the meeting? Right? How about, have you ever left a meeting not having a clue about when the next meeting's going to be? Definitely, right? These are all very, very common. And these are the default, I would say. The default. Have you ever been in a meeting and thought, I can't remember what we just talked about at the last meeting? Definitely, right? Or have you ever been in a meeting and thought, haven't we talked about this already? I have many fond memories of all these experiences, by the way. Have you ever been lost in a meeting? This is like this could be the basis of an episode of The Office easily. Like the ineffective meetings. How about meetings that run over time? Endlessly. Yep. And that's one of my favorite ones. Sitting in the meeting thinking, I'm sure that we talked about this already. Like, we've already started this conversation, we've already tried to reach a conclusion, and now we're just going in circles. Those are some of my favorite memories. So the reason all those things happen is because meetings are, by default, unstructured. There's no structure to the meeting, and there's no plan. There should be a plan. It shouldn't be, what's the opposite of a plan? A mess, exactly. Who said that? A mess, exactly. Say your name for their Olga. How do you pronounce your real name though? Is that your real name? Yeah. It is? You would say that? Olga. Exactly. Olya. Yeah, exactly. So the opposite of structure, in this case, the way I usually think of it is random. In some ways, it's a random communication by default, unstructured and random. So we're just going to introduce a structure for the meetings, and of course, it solves all of these problems, right? And maybe some of the students in the room will back me up on this. You kind of have to. So it's called Bob's Minutes of Meeting Protocol. And it's a structure. It's just a structure, and it helps solve all these problems, right? You don't have to forget what we talked about in the last meeting. You don't have to walk away from a meeting having no idea what you're supposed to take away, right? And all these different problems, right? So the Minutes of Meeting Protocol provides a structure. Before there was none, right? It was just random. So time is organized and content is organized. So there are three main parts: the topics that you've discussed, the list of topics discussed. The second part is progress since the last meeting, right? Progress that maybe you made or progress that anybody in your team has made. And a to-do list as the third section. So all the items that you're supposed to do before the next meeting, right? Why is that good? Because it provides continuity between the meetings, right? So you begin every meeting by looking at the protocol notes from the previous meeting. So you don't have a random starting point anymore. The starting point is always the same. It's reviewing the previous minutes of meeting. And hopefully those items on the to-do list get moved to the progress part of the protocol, right? So no more forgetting. That's really great, especially when there's a long gap between the meetings, right? They also aid in progress, which is nice, isn't it? It helps us make progress. If there's a to-do list, there are two implications for the to-do list, two very important implications. Well, three. One is you have some idea of what you're supposed to do, right? But the other two more subtle ones are somebody has to make a decision. Decisions have to be made right there on the spot about what to do. And implicitly, you try to break up the smaller, the big problem, your thesis, into small chunks that can be managed. So the items on the to-do list are really items that are small that can be accomplished before the next meeting. So you're taking this massive problem and you're breaking it down into small, manageable chunks. So those are two implications of the to-do lists, two subtle and very important implications. So the protocol looks like this. It has the start, the date, the current date, the start time, each person present at the meeting. This is very good for team meetings because absence is also documented, right? Absence is a very important piece of information when you're working in a team. You have a list of topics that you've discussed. That's at the top. Well, for me, that's usually sort of at the top. A list of progress. So there's an implication there too. The implication is the list of progress is, oh, I'm preparing for the meeting. I need to show somebody, presumably a supervisor, a list of progress. What progress have I actually made since our last meeting? Hopefully you're looking at the to-do list from the last meeting and those items are being moved up, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're not entirely being moved up. Maybe they're just partially being moved up, like I started to do this. But at least you have a list of documented progress. And if you're showing that to your boss or your supervisor, they're going to be very happy about that, right? Very happy. And the to-do list of things to work on before the next meeting. And the date and time of the next meeting. So you don't want to walk away out of a meeting without having a date and time for the next meeting. Has anybody ever tried to arrange a meeting time with email? It's a nightmare, right? You can change, exchange emails, like 5,000 of them, just to arrange a meeting time. That's not a good way. Nobody likes that, right? So it's best to just decide then and there, the next meeting time, right? And it's great to have that in a structured protocol. By the way, I follow this protocol every day, and I can't live without it. Like I cannot do anything without this protocol. Like I can't manage any projects, and nothing ever gets done if we don't follow the protocol. That's just an example of one. Dylan might recognize that one. It's just one of our minutes of meeting. So in our meetings, I actually write the notes by hand, and then I give them to a student, typically a postgraduate student. They type them up, and they put them online in a central repository. That's what it looks like. So we know who was there, who wasn't there. If you want, you can put an end time, right? That's actually part of the protocol when the meeting ends. The date and time of next meeting, right? Different things we discussed, random things. I hope I didn't expose anything embarrassing here by accident. The progress that these two outstanding students, by the way, made during since the last meeting, and then the to-do lists with actual names next to the to-do items. There have to be names there. If you're in a team, you can't just put down like the word all, like do this, everyone do this. There have to be names. And then you put them in a collection, right? So that's what a collection in computer science, we put them all on the computer science web server. You might not do that, but you do collect them somewhere in a folder. And then you have a complete history of your project, which is also very nice. Some people, are there any KES students in here? How many KES? 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4? Okay, there should be more actually. We've got some people missing. But KES, and this is not only KES students, but a lot of students in the world, let's say, and people in the world have to write reports, progress reports. And especially the KES people, you have these quarterly reports. So now that solves another problem. Like, what have I been doing the last 3 months? Like, what can I write? I have no idea. Well, now you can just pull out the minutes of meeting from all of you and easily copy and paste into a progress report. So it kills that bird too. And I did sometimes I supervise students for more than one degree. Like Matt Edmonds, I supervised his master's and PhD, and we had this one massive, amazing list of minutes of meeting that was like 5 years. It was so awesome as one continuous list. It's also fun, like, just to look back at the first one 5 years later, the first few, to see, like, wow, what was I doing back then? So some of you might be in the audience. I used my psychic powers, by the way, to make this slide, because I thought, okay, what if there are going to be questions about this? What could be possible questions? So I consulted my collective psyche, and I thought, well, you might be thinking, oh, my supervisor doesn't use this protocol. Am I right? Who was thinking that? Exactly. This is rubbish. My supervisor was like this. So the implication is you still follow the protocol, but you want to solicit the information to fill in the gaps from your supervisor. Right? You want to try to solicit the information. Right? That means ask. Get the information from your supervisor. So if you're taking the notes, I think it's quite easy to just keep track of the list of topics that you discussed. I don't think that's very interesting. And so when you're trying to figure out what to do, a possible thing to say to your supervisor after maybe you've had a discussion for an hour and you're feeling a little bit lost, you solicit the information. You say, okay, I have my to-do list, supervisor. Just to be clear, can I review it with you right now before I go away and see that it's correct? Right? Here's my to-do list before our next meeting. And then before you go away, you say, oh, by the way, has anybody seen Columbo, by the way? Whoever watched Columbo? That's a great... But he always walked out of the room, and then he turns around and say, oh, just one more question. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but before you go away, ask when the next meeting is. Don't get into that situation where you're trying to exchange 50 million emails. You might write an email and then get a reply like a week later. Oh, sorry, I forgot about this. And you can show your supervisor, oh, this is the progress I made since our last meeting, and you have your list there, and it prepares you for the meeting. That's going to make your supervisor very, very happy, by the way. Like, wow, this student's organized. What the heck? Like, that's going to be, for some supervisors, it's going to be very surprising. Going to be very happy. Okay, where can you find the protocol? That was the other question I anticipated from consulting the collective psyche of the universe. Reading your minds correctly, like, is that what people were thinking? Like, where can I find this amazing protocol? You can find it on Blackboard. Is anybody, did everybody get an email? Some of you, I think, maybe didn't, but is everybody enrolled on the Blackboard module for this? If you're not enrolled on the Blackboard module and want to be enrolled on the Blackboard module, well, put all the material. You can put the word Blackboard next to your name if you're not already enrolled. If you got an email saying, oh, come to the seminar, then you're already enrolled. But if you didn't get that email from like that Blackboard announcement, then you can put your student number there, and I can add you to the Blackboard. But you can also just Google Bob Smanson meeting protocol and find it. You don't have to be on the Blackboard to get that material. The future material, you will. And when we do sign you up, there's something called the College of Science Internal Training Seminar right here when you've successfully signed up on that. It'll appear in the top right. Okay, any questions? Everybody excited about their next meeting now? Good. We're finished for today then. Thanks. Happy Thursday.